Good to see everybody. Hope everybody's well. Guys are excited to get back to work today. Working on Green Bay. Had a good team meeting this morning, outlined the keys to victory, and then talked to the guys about kind of closed out the game from last week, and showed some good details in terms of the fundamentals that we worked on. Individual drills, it was good, and then showed the game clips right behind it. That's always good to reinforce what we're doing here coming up this week. Again, we'll do the Wednesday half practice of fundamentals and then half practice of walkthrough, and the same thing on Thursday, and then we'll work into a fast Friday and get ready for the game. So that's our deal for the week. Injury updates. Cole Kmet will not practice today, and then Jalen Johnson will not practice. They just need another day with the trainers to get ready, and we'll see where it is. It's looking positive, but again, we'll see where it is as we go through this week. Patrick Scales, after the game, reported a foot. He won't practice today as well. And we're going to sign Matt Overton, long snapper, to the practice squad today as precautionary. But we'll see where Scales is as we go through the week, and we're hopeful that it looks good, but we'll see where it goes from there. And then Darnell Mooney is still in concussion protocol as we speak. So that's where it is for him. On to Green Bay. So Green Bay, of course, is really a lot like us, in terms of being on a hot streak there. Have won some games in a row the last back half of the season. And certainly they do a really good job on defense. Their defensive line is one of the strengths of their team. Two good edge rushers, a really good player inside in Clark. They obviously the draft pick Van Ness has done a good job this year for them. Moving inside to the linebackers, Quay. I think Quay is a really good linebacker. He's got really good instincts, very athletic, very active in there. I think he does a really good job. And then obviously working, Campbell, the veteran, inside there, paired along with him has done a good job of commanding that defense for a long, long time. And then Jair in the back end, obviously you got to be very aware of him. He's a ball hawk guy that's got his, working towards the ball all the time, and sticky coverage, and of course he's a tremendous player as well. But working on to the offense, obviously Jordan Love's had a really good stretch of games here, leading into the back half of the season. 16 TDs, 1 interception. Last 8 games, 68% completion. 260 yards passing a game. Obviously their offense runs through Jones. Jones is a really good dynamic runner that can do a lot of different things. His cutting ability, his vision, his explosiveness is elite. And we've seen that for a long time, and we see it against the opponents that he plays. And having Dylan there as the 1-2 punch, he's very hard to bring down. He's got obviously very, very strong in that way. And then the young receivers, Reed, Dobbs, Wicks, Watson potentially coming back. Those guys are a good skill set coupled with their quarterback. So looking at their tight ends, we'll see if Musgrave comes back this week. But Kraft has done obviously a good job stepping in there and made some explosive plays and yards after the catch. But again, their special teams, Rich Bisaccia does a wonderful job for those guys. And, they've got some good returns in the kick return and the punt return game. Got 2 explosive athletes there that have been that way for the year. So our cover teams are going to have their hands full as well. But with that, open to questions.
When you revisit week 1, it's obviously eons in the back. What do you find significant from watching that tape, and what do you just discard because it is so long ago and so much has changed?
Yeah, I mean, what you recognize is our growth. I really believe as a football team, the growth and the maturation of a lot of our young players. You can certainly see that with our first and second year players. You can see the continuity with the free agents, coming together on both sides of the ball. DJ, and Justin having a little more chemistry. You certainly can see that. The growth of Cole Kmet, Cole's come a long way this year. So there's a lot of growth that goes along with it, and that's what we see.
Matt, last year the Lions went into Green Bay for that Week 18 game, and they were playing for pride at that point and kept the Packers out of the playoffs and kept a strong turnaround for them. Do you point to that game? Do you point to that example of kind of what this game can mean for you and putting a capper on what's been a strong second half?
Yeah, it's really just about the finish, right? It's about the finish. This is our last game, so we're going to focus on this game and focus on putting our best foot forward for this particular game. And, our preparation has to be right today. The details of that with our look squads and our players in the meetings and also in the walkthroughs. and then in the fundamental drills, and that's what wins football games. And we'll look at those with detail and making sure we're not walking by any mistake to make sure we're growing and improving into the last week and finishing it the right way.
Follow
In
up
your
to
time-
what Chris just asked, is there though incentive or motivation with the idea of knocking your top rivals out of the playoff picture?
Yeah, I mean, I would say this, that it's we're going to keep it about us. There's always that factor of, hey, there's an important game for them for sure, right? An important game for us for sure. And we're going to leave it at that. It's a rival, and we're excited about going up there and playing some football.
Matt,
Speaking about
in your experience in the league, is there something to be said for momentum that carries over from the end of one season to the start of another? Does that happen?
Yeah, I do believe that there's some there with that for sure, especially with the nucleus of your team. The draft picks that you have, the free agents that you have acquired, and there's always that nucleus. Good teams have nucleuses of offense, defense, and special teams, and have their whole team, and we're starting to have that. So I do feel that building upon momentum is always important. In the course of a game, it's important. You seize momentum, you got to be able to strike when that happens, and we've done a decent job of that. But there's no different than the end of a season.
Matt, in week 1, Darnell Wright struggled at times with Rashawn Gary. And now, again, week 18, is this a possibility, like a measuring stick, a growth game for Darnell specifically going against Gary again?
Yeah, I mean, Gary and Preston are two good pass rushers, right? They got length. You don't sign a guy to Gary like a big contract like he just got for no reason, right? He's a heck of a talent, and he's one of the best in the league, and he's proven that. His pressure rate's been one of the highest in the league. He's got power, he's got quickness, he's got strength, he's got length. So Darnell is gonna and Braxton, whichever side he lines up on, because they move him around a little bit, is gonna have a big challenge. We got to have great fundamentals, great technique, in our pass sets. And certainly we're going to have some help at times, and we got to utilize that help when we're going, getting some chip help in there and some different bangers in there that are going to help us out.
Now,
What's helped you
we've
mo-
talked a lot about how DJ's helped Justin in year 3 and help him get to the next step. On the flip side of that, how has Justin helped DJ this year? I know the quarterback stability was not something he had in his previous place. Well, from your perspective, where have you seen that help DJ the most?
Yeah, I mean, obviously point to the chemistry, and along with that comes information. Because if they're friends, they're going to work outside of the building, which they have done. And they work in the locker room, work in the meetings, and just the continuity of what we're looking for in terms of the routes. And DJ's very detailed in that manner, and I think Justin's really helped him out in that way in terms of what we're looking for, based on the coverages and based on the looks.
What's impressed you most about Tyreek Stevenson, especially his development? I think he's got 3 interceptions in the last 3 games.
Yeah, I like Tyreek for a couple reasons. Number one, he's an aggressive player and he tackles well. That's an important aspect, and he's long. He's lean, he's long, he's got good lean mass, so he can really tackle well. He can tackle big backs. You can see that he knocks them back, and that's the number one thing I like about him. And then the length in the pass game. So when you're covering deep routes, and side pocket throws, that length matters. Having arms of 32 or 33 are different than having 28s. So it's important that we acquire guys like that, and he's one of them. But I love his attitude, and I love his demeanor that he brings to the game every week.
Man, Montz Sweat is, I guess, obviously the biggest difference between your defense in week 1 versus now. When you watch film, who has benefited the most from his, even if it's not somebody obvious, who has benefited the most from Sweat being on your defense as opposed to not?
The Chicago Bears. I would say the Chicago Bears as a whole has benefited having Tez on our football team, because it creates a pressure player from the front, and when you have that, then you're able to play coverage, and then you can vary your coverages, and you can make them look different and disguise them, and I think that's very hard for the quarterback. And so when you have that pressure player from the front and you're not bringing it from the second level, that certainly helps out any defense. But certainly Tez has been wonderful to have, and he's helped out the whole organization.
So is there a way to say, like, how different will your defense look to Green Bay when they scout you? How different will you look in this week as opposed to week 1? With
Yeah,
Sweat in there?
that's a great question, and our defense can look a lot of different ways. We can vary our coverages, vary our looks a bunch of different ways, and we've done that throughout the whole course of the season, and I think that's important to do.
Matt, you mentioned Jordan Love's production. When you see him as a first-year starter and, as you mentioned, a young group of playmakers around him, what is most notable to you about the way he's performed?
I think he looks like he's very comfortable. You know, I think the coaches have done a really good job of coaching the rhythm and timing of what they're asking them to do. And I think they're on the same page with the receivers. You can feel that chemistry there, and that's what I noticed most. And you know, they're playing some good football, like I said, and again, we are too. And we'll see where it goes.
After Dexter's game on Sunday, what's like the next step for him in week 18, but then him going into the offseason to become a better 3 technique and maybe solidify a bigger role for himself in the future?
Yeah, Javon and Pickens have both grown immensely during the course of this season, and that's really attributed to Travis Smith, you know, and Justin Hines, their coach, but also the veterans in the room. You know, Justin Jones has done a wonderful job working with those guys. Billings has done a wonderful job. But he really is just an all-around player and being more consistent. I think I stated it after the game potentially was that, you know, to be an all-around D tackle, you got to be able to play the run really well too. You know, and for him, it's just the pad level to get off, being able to split a double team, anchor in there when you have to, when the double team's hanging on, you know, and then win your one-on-ones in pass rush. You know, and then if the center's sliding to you, got to be able to dent the pocket. You know, you got to be able to push that back. And he's doing a good job of all those right now. So he's just on the rise. And he's continuing to work. And you know, like I said, the run game is where he's really got to improve, and he's done a good job with that. Being a big guy like that, it's really great in the pass game because you have, you know, him and Tez. If you get those guys rushing on the same side, that's a big wall to throw around for sure. And two good pressure players there. But again, in the run game, he's just going to have to be more consistent as we go forward.
Matt, you guys did a lot of work in the pre-draft process. You did a lot of work on Darnell Wright to make sure he was the right guy to make it that number 10. How has he measured up to your expectations in year 1?
Yeah, I would just, you know, first of all, you know, what a great job by Ryan and his staff, you know, because, you know, the type of athlete you need at that position, you know, to be able to play, you know, cover up those rushers, you need a tremendous athlete, you know, that has tremendous balance, you know, because you get in some weird positions sometimes as an offensive tackle, and to regain that center of gravity and balance and still be able to pass pro, he has that. You know, and that's a God-given ability, athletic ability that he has that our scouts recognize. So that's number one. He's just continuing to work, you know, and you know, he's going to get better and better and better. And like we said, you play these young guys and you play them and you get all those reps. Our biggest jump we'll see with him is in year 2.
Yeah, what do you think about the NFL world right now talking about the Chicago Bears, the number 1 overall pick, Justin Fields, you, everything? What does that get through to you?
Yeah, I really think I look at it as optimistic. You know, I really do. It's an exciting time, you know, to be a Chicago Bear and to be a Chicago Bear fan. You know, so there's a lot of bright things that are coming ahead of us in the future, and we certainly are excited about all those things that you mentioned.
Thank you.